Hey, everybody, welcome to the Jesus is Changing My Life podcast. This is a space where everyday people will share their stories about how Jesus is changing their life. We hope you enjoy this episode, and we hope it encourages you to tell others about the God who is changing your life as well. Hey, welcome back to the Jesus is Changing My Life podcast. I am sitting here with Drew Puckett. Drew and I have become friends just in the last year or so as he and his family started attending Connection Point. Drew's wife is actually the director of our children's ministry here. Hi, Drew. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. Hey, man, we are just excited to hear your story. And the truth is like some people have like these crazy stories of like I was in jail, or I was addicted to drugs, or my life was like going down the tubes, and then Jesus saved me. And then, Drew, I kind of relate, I think, a lot to you, and I think some of the people will too. I don't really have that cool of a story. You know, in the end, what happened was Jesus just found me and changed me.
Right.
You know, and so what we always want to do on the Jesus is Changing My Life podcast is we want to talk a little bit about the time where Jesus changed our life for eternity when we said yes to him. And then we want to spend some time talking about how Jesus is changing our lives now, because if we're truly following Jesus, he's doing something now. It's not just about what he did a long time ago, right?
Right.
So, could we just start there? Could we start with maybe you just sharing a little bit about, I don't know, like, what's the story that happens that allows Drew Puckett to one day wake up and go, you know what, I need Jesus in my life?
Yeah, so it started, and growing up, I didn't have church in my life. Not that we were against it, anything like that. I wasn't radical atheist or anything like that. We just didn't do it. I might have went with a friend once, or went with a grandparent, I think, once. So maybe a total of 2 or 3 times growing up. And so I graduate high school, to fast forward, meet my future wife, Siobhan. We move in together right away. We have a child, just flying by the seat of our pants, doing life, and not doing it any way we were supposed to be doing it, but doing it. And it was basically her. She started going to church one day. I think her brother had recently been saved and found Jesus. Had started going to a local church, so she joined him a couple times and started going, and I didn't, because I don't know, I don't want to be one of those weird church people,
Yeah, well, and let's be honest, like there's 1:00 football.
Exactly, right? Yeah. I got the pregame and everything else, fantasy football going on, so I don't have time for church. But and so she did that for a while. Honestly, I don't even really know how long she had been going, because I probably wasn't paying attention enough. But one day she came home and said, hey, we can't live together anymore. We can't have this relationship. We're unequally yoked, and I have no idea what that means. I'm just like, what's going on here? What are you talking about? So we kind of went our separate ways for a little while. I mean, we did, but we didn't. We just didn't live together anymore, but we had a child together, so it's not like we could just completely phase each other out of our lives. So I moved back home with my parents. She moved in with her brother. I was still not going to church, but I was kind of almost like it planted a seed in my mind, like, what is there to this, that you would just, basically break up our family or what we had going. I just didn't get it. So, but over the course of probably the next 6 months to a year, I think it was, just hanging out. Because like I said, we had the child together still, so I'd go over there, help him get to sleep, and sometimes we'd hang out. And really what I remember is we're hanging out one day, and our son, Cale, we'd put him to bed, and we were just sitting there watching a movie, and it's one of your typical cheesy, older 90s Christian movie, with Treat Williams or somebody like that.
So hold on.
Yes.
So not only did she leave you because she felt like it was the right move spiritually, she made you watch cheesy
Christian movies. So double the punishment.
Man.
So even after all that, I still went over there to her house, and but we were watching this movie this one time, and this one night, and it just something clicked with me, because like I said, it kind of been in my mind ever since we kind of split. And I'm just like, what is this all about? And she seems to be loving it and loving life, now. And like, what am I missing here? And so we're watching this movie, and the rapture comes. The husband's left, his wife and kids, are taken away, and he's stuck because he's not a believer. And something just clicked with me at that point for whatever reason it is, and just from that point on, I just felt like this is something I want to do this, and it's really the first moment I remember of thinking I need Jesus in my life.
Yeah. So you go from, I don't know what Siobhan's doing, but I don't understand it, and I don't want any part of it.
Yeah.
To this movie that shows rapture, whether or not that's real.
Right.
Like, I mean, it shows this idea of, wait a minute, you mean there's a place that someone can go to be with Jesus that people who don't follow him don't go?
Right. Right.
Yeah. And that was enough to make you, after this amount of time, go,
Yeah.
What I think is interesting, Drew, is a couple things. One, it wasn't just the movie.
Yeah.
Right? So like, you had been watching Siobhan.
Yeah.
And you'd been watching her brother.
Right.
And you had seen that there's something going on there.
Yeah, I'm missing something.
Yeah, and this movie's like the catalyst for that moment.
Yeah.
That's one. Two, even wrapped in the cheesiness of some of those early 90s Christian movies. And if you've ever seen one, you know exactly what we're talking about, folks. But even wrapped in the cheesiness, the gospel's still the gospel.
Right. Right.
And like, it still has power. And any time that we can tell people about Jesus, like, there's power in that, even if they don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
So you didn't like drop to your knees at the end of the movie and say, Siobhan, let's pray a prayer of salvation. Something just clicked.
Right. Right.
And you just started going to church with her?
I believe, look, I can't remember if it was the next week, the next Sunday or whatever, the next day, but it was shortly thereafter that I started going with her, and, I'd go out and get my Bible and, and just like, hey, I'm going to do this thing, and, it's time to make a change here. And yeah, so we just, we started going, and that lasted, a while, we got married, I believe maybe the following year. So it was about a year after that. We got married, had another child, Jace. And so then you get wrapped up doing life and the busyness and all that stuff that goes on. Like we talked about the thorns, in the parable with the sower and the seed there. And just got out of it for a while, and it was kind of a cyclical thing for us. It seemed like, we'd go like, hey, we need to go to church. We need to, be with people around other Christians and do this thing right. And we do it for a while, and then, okay, we're busy. I'm coaching baseball. We've got all this stuff going on. We'll get back to it. And then, days and weeks and months and years. And then, finally you're just like, well, what are we, what are we doing here? Yeah. Yeah.
So you basically from that point, are kind of doing a little bit of a hokey pokey, right? You're like in and out, then in, then out.
Yeah.
And when you're in, we're going to do this forever. And when you're out, I feel guilty because we're not doing it.
Right.
And
right.
Yeah. And what's interesting is if we're not careful, like our church attendance becomes our entire faith.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if I'm not going to church, I'm a terrible Christian. If I'm going to church, I'm an amazing Christian.
Right. That's all I need to do. I just got to go to church a few more times.
Like just check. I get to check that box and move on.
Right. Right.
So eventually, you have a third child.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, Lily.
We can't leave Lily out.
No. She wouldn't have that.
She would not have that. And so at what point does there come a point for you where you're serving at church or you're serving in the community, or like when does it click for you? Like maybe it's more than just showing up and there's something else here.
Yeah. So I was doing nothing, I was not serving. I was basically checking the box like we always talk about, and just a shallow faith, and I guess I just didn't really have that relationship with Jesus, or didn't really even understand it. I'd go to church and I got people, Siobhan's bawling her eyes out and people are crying. I'm just like, what the heck is going on here? Am I in the right place? Am I missing something? I just didn't have that deeper connection that, I needed. And, I didn't even really realize it at the time. I think like, man, I just thought like, well, they came from a lot worse background. So they're just, they had a lot more to overcome than me, so that's what it is, and maybe that's part of it, obviously, sure. But, it was me just not really giving up full control, and saying, "Here, Jesus, just take it all," because no, I want to do what I want to do still. I don't want to do this all in, that's boring or something, So I just really wasn't ready to give up the keys, I guess, and say, "Here, take it, and I'll just follow where you take me."
So let's fast forward to the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And, specifically the last year and a half or so. I guess, it's great that you said yes to Jesus. I'm super happy, obviously, for you and Siobhan to get married and to figure out what it means to follow him. And just like everyone else, there's a roller coaster, from the time we say yes to Jesus, pretty much till the time we die. It's pretty much a roller coaster. But like, what is Jesus doing in your life right now? How would you say Jesus is changing your life right now?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, and I kind of just touched on it, I had no relationship with him, and I feel like I'm just seeking relationship more now. I kind of, I get it, I just need that. I need to give up control of everything in my life, and not just seeking relationship with Jesus, but with other fellow believers, just to have that group that you can depend on and be there and talk about things. Before I was more just, I'm fine, everything's good, and didn't really want to get into too many deep relationships or anything like that. I'm a guy, I'm not going to talk about my feelings or anything like that. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But now, it's just, it's just seeking the deeper relationships. And, and I've done that, and this sounds like box checking, but I've joined a D Huddle, Discipleship Huddle. I've joined a Connect group, and we talk about box checking, and I think it gets a lot of negative, but I mean, there's some good to it. For me, it was just getting out of my comfort zone, because I was like, I'm not doing a Bible study, I don't want to get with a group of guys and talk about my feelings or whatever, but I did one a year or so ago here, then we joined the Connect group, and the Discipleship Huddle I just started this week, actually. So it's more of me stepping out of my comfort zone to try to make those relationships that I feel like I really crave now.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't call that box checking.
Yeah.
I would call that like moving forward.
Yeah, right.
Like box checking, I think, is more like, I did that, now
Showing
I can relax.
up. Yeah.
Like, okay, good, I'm doing that. Well, I'm doing that. I think for you, it's more, I'm seeking relationship, and this is how I'm seeking it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question that you're not prepared for.
Great. I love it.
What is it like to figure out how to be the spiritual leader in your home with a wife who not only started following Jesus before you, but also is a leader in the church? Like, what is that? Yeah. What does that look like for you, Drew? I mean, let's just talk about that in the last year or so, because if we're being honest with each other, yes, you've been following Jesus for a while now,
right?
But in some ways, you've clicked it into a high gear in the last year.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, like, how do you navigate that?
Yeah, because she's always been the stronger believer than me, and with my personality, I think it's a little easier because I'm more of a background guy anyways, Not that I don't want to be the leader in my own home, but, she was much more fit to lead our home than I was, to be honest. I still wanted that, I'm dad, respect me, and I was, all about that. And if I was disrespected, I was, very offended by that. Sure. But really, if I'm being honest, I wasn't doing anything to earn that respect. Yeah. I wasn't following Jesus like I should or anything like that. Yeah. So within the last year, I just feel like, I'm able to take on that leadership role, and because I can have conversations. It's not just because I said so. It's because, Jesus said so, and here's why, and I have something more to reference than just, the age-old because I said so, do it, or you're in trouble, or grounded, or whatever that may be. So, it's, it's her with the leadership role. I'm fine with that. Yeah. I don't know that. Yeah. I don't think I'm the natural leader type. I've been in jobs or something where I have been a leader and I do fine, but I'm not.
You don't need.
I wouldn't say I'm the outgoing personality that's going to do that. So she's much more fit for that job, and I recognize that. So it's nothing that bothers me.
Well, I think what's cool and what I watched, Drew, is like, what I would say is, you don't have to be the one who understands the Bible the most. Mm-hmm. You don't have to pass a trivia test to be the leader in your home. Yeah. You don't have to be the most vocal, but when you are someone who is journeying with Jesus, and it allows you to speak about Jesus in your home and not just because I said so. Yeah. That it's seen differently coming from the Father.
Right.
than necessarily the mother
Yeah.
from the children. You
Yeah.
know, which is I think really, really important.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think just watching you, I think you're more of a leader than you probably give yourself credit for.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and your wife is vocal. I work with her all the time.
Yes.
But that doesn't make her the leader of the home either. And I know just in the conversations with her, just how proud she is of the journey you've been on.
Yeah.
So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Well, hey man, anything else that you were thinking to yourself, man, when we do this podcast thing, I want to share this.
I would just, people that are listening, if you're like me, just don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone. I think that's where I was for so long. I'm just like, I'm not putting any more than I have to with this. I'm just going to play it cool and show up and do whatever I have to do, but I'm not going to join Bible studies. I'm not going to do any of this thing. But no, just, step out in faith, I guess, to put it in a cliche. But that would be, I guess, the only thing I could add there.
Yeah. So if you're listening, strive for relationships with others, strive for relationship with the Lord.
Yeah.
If you've been afraid to step out, now's the time.
Right.
And it's okay to be exactly who God created you to be.
Yeah.
That's who you are.
Right.
But at the same time, He's calling you to be more like Him, and that's the journey, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So hey, thanks for joining us today. If you have a story where maybe Jesus is changing your life and you'd like to share it, if you'll go to JesusIsChangingMyLife.com, there's a form there you can fill out, and you can tell us a little bit about your journey, and maybe at some point we sit down and talk about what's going on with you. Folks, have a great week. We'll see you next time. Thanks, Drew, for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Yep. All right. See you later.